Yeah, we only need four, right? Great.
That's it.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, we've got a bunch of people here as well. All right. It's good to see everyone.
Yep.
Let's see. We have draft meeting minutes, right, to go through.
Yeah,
It won't take you very long.
sorry,
And where are those? Okay, I'm looking at them.
Yeah, we sent them in a later version of the.
Oh, they're in the later
from,
version. Okay.
updating.
Okay. Um,
well, I move that we approve them. It was a short meeting, short notes.
oh yeah, that's why
I
they're
se-
so short.
I
Okay, that's what I'm
second it.
confused about. I am looking at them. All right. So is there a second?
I'll
Will?
second.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. Pam, I'll go with Pam. And we'll do a roll call vote. Sam,
Yes.
Roberta,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
and I think that's everyone. Yep. And I'll vote yes.
Werner popped on too.
Oh, Werner. Where's Werner? Oh, there he is. Werner, do you vote to approve the minutes?
You're
You have to
muted
unmute though.
Is signaled in the affirmatives.
I'm going with yes. Okay, so then the motion passes to approve the minutes. All right, and then what happened to my agenda now? Because I got the minutes up.
I do have a quick note on the agenda, Marcus.
Yes.
Yes, the slight modification is I've added another slide to the staff update, which isn't, a particular surprise, but just wanted to make note of that.
Okay, thank you. That sounds good. All right, so the first item on our agenda is the 705 review of 80 to 82 Louise Road, BP file 120201, Brookline Wetland Bylaw 2401, and a vote to issue a partial certificate of compliance.
Yeah, we have John Rockwood and Luis Diaz-Ganadres from here, that project tonight.
Okay.
John, do you want to give a quick overview of the project and where everything's at?
Yeah, sure. Basically, the work on the project's been completed. The site's stable. Stormwater's been done. This was one where a filing was made in Newton and a filing was made in Brookline because the house is in Newton, the driveways are in Newton. There's some lawn and a mitigation planting area in Brookline. So you guys got the mitigation and Newton got the project. We received orders of conditions for both. We're in the process in Newton with regard to getting a certificate of compliance, and we're requesting a partial subject to monitoring these plantings, which were made earlier this fall for 3 growing seasons as required by the order. And Louis, did you install the fence in front of the bounds yet? There's a post and rail fence that's required.
Yes, that is already installed. That is correct.
Okay, so the fence required has been installed. And then I guess we need blue medallions for the granite bounds. Have you completed that?
Not yet. I need to pick them up from the Alex's 4th floor, town of Brookline.
Yep, 4th floor town hall. We have them here. So these are the ones we voted on, commissioners, a couple meetings ago. We got them in. It took a little bit of a song and dance to get these things issued, but we do have them sitting at our desk here for this project and future projects.
Okay, so what we have is the project is completed, the site's stable. We just have to monitor this next fall, the following fall, and the fall of 2028, and provide the successful monitoring letter at that point, and then request the full certificate.
Any commentary, Alex, on?
Yeah, so I looked at this project over the last 6 months or so. I've been in contact with Louis. I did probably 4 site visits with him over the course of that, including meeting with Jennifer Stallion, with Newton Conservation Commission, and talking through it. And from my perspective, especially with the last site visit, it's buttoned up and everything is pretty much to the letter what we expected. The planting plan is more or less plant for plant, exactly what we're looking like in this restoration area. The site's secured, the fence is up, and both applicants have been extremely cooperative and collaborative in we had a couple things we looked at early on just to make sure there was full compliance with the order of conditions, and everything was remedied quickly and addressed quickly. And so, aside from what Mr. Rockwood mentioned of the 3 years of monitoring, I have no issues with the issuance of a partial certificate.
Great. Are there any questions from the commission?
And the reason for the partial is just because we don't have the medallions yet?
I think this is primarily, it's the 3 years of monitoring
got it,
on
got
that
it.
restoration area.
Okay.
Roberta?
I'm just, in terms of those 3 years, I'm assuming these units will be sold, and I saw that the representation was that there'd be a wetland scientist on board, and I just wondered what the connection was going to be with the new owners and the wetland scientists. What can we do to ensure that, this plays out as envisioned?
So, Roberta, my name is Luis Renatos from Arco, the developer. The wording on the memo is part of the condo docs, which basically require the condo doc or the condominium to keep a good maintenance of not only this area but also the areas around, specifically for the 3 years coming in. So it's pretty much part of the condo docs, yes.
Is there a wetland scientist already on board then who, the expectation is that they'll continue, or what's the relationship there?
I don't think I'm following. We just have to keep and maintain the way we installed it and the way it is directed by the memo for the next 3 years. I don't remember having any reference to any.
Maybe that's my mistake. I thought that there was supposed to be an annual report by a wetland scientist as part of the
Typically
model.
there is. I can work with Lewis to get a contract with the owners when it's sold.
Because I think most owners would, I mean, if in fact that's part of what's in there, and it looked to me from the request for the partial COC as if that's what was being represented. I don't have the conditions in front of me, but most homeowners aren't going to necessarily have a relationship with a wetland scientist. So
yeah. I've done this several times in Newton where the condos have been sold and the developer has introduced me to the owners and I've contracted directly with the owners. So that's something that's easily doable.
Yeah,
But
and
good to get ahead of it like that, just so that you don't have a couple of years go by and then it's just a problem.
Yeah.
It's on my tickler list anyways. I have about 30 of these monitoring things to do every year. So
yeah, and it's part of the condo docs as well. So it's mandatory within the homeowners to attend to this. Yes.
And as a clarification, Roberta, it does say in the order that they be monitored by a qualified wetland scientist / environmentalist. So it's a specific there.
thank you.
Pam, did you have your hand up?
Yeah,
Question?
I-
Okay.
yeah, I just wanted to add, I mean, maybe we can just put that in the cover letter to the partial COC or something like that, just to flag this issue. And then they'll know, because otherwise I assume that they, you want that certificate of compliance because it's gonna, there's gonna be a sale and you want to, straighten out the title. So that I think we can just follow up and get this all in place.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
be
but-
sure to note that it's not just a partial, but the terms under which it's a partial.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
the
great.
outstanding
Good idea, Pam.
conditions.
Yeah, that makes sense. Then it just reminds everybody what needs to happen. Anyone else feel comfortable someone making a motion to issue a partial certificate of compliance for the project?
Yes, I move that we issue a partial certificate of compliance with the few little items that we've discussed.
The items, yeah.
I'll second that.
Will seconds, and we'll do a roll call vote. Werner,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Roberta,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Great,
Okay,
very
thank
much.
you.
thank
You
you.
know, Lewis will be in
Thank you.
touch with about picking it up or having it mailed to him.
Great. And from our end, commissioners Rebecca will, and I will arrange that paperwork to be sent for your signature.
Thank you, Alex, again, and thanks everybody. Alex, I
Thank
will
you.
be
Thank you.
by the next couple of
Thank
days.
you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a
Good
good
night.
evening.
You too. Bye.
Sure. All right, the next item on our agenda is a review of 69 Princeton Road, Brookline Wetland Bylaw 1901. and a vote to issue a certificate of compliance for that project.
So this will be for me because the applicant is, I believe, in the Middle East right now and is unable to attend. This is a request that the certificate of compliance be forwarded as a sort of the checkbox of invalid order of conditions that work had never commenced. So this project was from before my time, but this was, if you're familiar with it, this was a backyard project over in South Brookline, close to the Municipal Service Center. It was a local bylaw issue, so there was an IVW area there where the applicant was looking to install a fairly comprehensive drainage system in the backyard. While he did get an order of conditions, he mentioned to me, and I think I included in his cover letter here, that starting with COVID and then starting with other issues, the project never got off the ground. I did visit with a representative from his one of his representatives on behalf of the applicant on the site, just to verify with my own eyes there wasn't a surprise drainage system back there. And no work is commenced on the project. So to me, that seems like a fairly straightforward issuance as a invalid order conditions, no work commenced on site.
I'm a little bit curious about what that area looked like. I'm glad you visited, because some of us who've been on the commission a while remember that sort of low area in South Brookline near Baker School, which is sort of a collection point for a couple of backyards. And as construction was being done in that area, people were complaining about how wet it was. And it looked like from the cover letter as if this homeowner had found that it was less wet than he'd been finding it in earlier years. And we haven't been over there recently.
So
Good.
here's the backyard. Let's see if I can do this without sharing pictures of my kids. So this is from the site visit the other day. This was the backyard itself, which, I mean, it was 20 degrees. So it was, it was what it was.
Right.
But the conditions were, fairly dry. If you look just to the left of this tree line, that's where the IVW area is. It was sort of a frozen over area of cattails, kind of wetland area there. But the backyard itself that I walked on along the line was relatively dry. Again, I honestly had never been to this site before this site visit, because work had never happened there. So these were the conditions I saw when I got over there.
Interesting. I have this recollection of leaving that site, a number of neighbors complaining about how wet it was, but people had their irrigation systems on.
I know, yeah.
Remember that?
I remember that too, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Alex, for sharing that.
Yeah,
Sure.
I
Yeah,
just
Pam.
want to ask procedurally, so it is the orders, 3 years is up, so it's expired.
Yeah.
So it's sort
So
of
we can
dead
still
anyway.
issue, we obviously couldn't extend the order of conditions because it's expired. You can issue a certificate of compliance even though it's expired. And even if no work was commenced. So we'll
So
just.
that's the procedure. It's funny, it's never
don't
come up
remember
for me
ever
before,
doing that, Pam,
exactly
right?
what you do when, when somebody doesn't do anything with the project. I can see why you'd want to do something about the order, just kind of, because it's recorded.
Well, they're
wanna-
selling the property now, so.
Yeah,
it
so
has
they
to
want to
get sort of
close it out
taken off.
somehow, exactly what it is you do to close it out. It
So there-
probably doesn't matter much, but.
There's a box on the form that
Oh, there
literally
is.
you says invalid order of conditions and it says this work never commenced. So
Oh,
that,
okay, oh, perfect, okay.
so that's what
Okay.
that's what happens when
Okay.
it just never happens and you want to close
Okay.
it. So there you go.
Learn
Yeah,
something
I'm with you,
every day.
Pam. I don't remember
Okay.
that ever happening, but that's all right.
I try to do something the commission has never done in every meeting. So that's my goal and I want to keep that streak going.
You
That's really
found the
good, Alex.
box, there you go.
Yeah. Will,
The property has been sold, is for sale.
I believe
When you-
it's
When you went
under,
on, like,
it's
you didn't
working
have to,
toward being closed on. I'm not sure of the particulars.
but you were able to get access and there was no one occupying it at the time.
No, I met I believe the attorney for the
Okay.
sale and we walked the property together.
Okay. Just, anticipating perhaps a new order coming in
Sure.
2 years by a new owner, who knows? Okay.
all right. Is there a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for?
Yes, I
1602
move
Road?
we issue this if certificate of compliance with a proper box check.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Werner, great. We'll do a roll call vote. Sam,
Yes.
Roberta,
Yes.
Werner,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Great.
Super.
All right. The next item, lots of certificates of compliance.
The
tonight.
closing out the year.
It's like wrapping things up for the year. All right. 88 Cottage Street, DEP number 12098, Brookline Wetland Bylaw 2301, and a vote to issue a certificate of compliance.
Yeah, and we have Marion Presley and Joe DiLazzaro from that project here tonight. Marion and Joe, if you'd like to give an overview of the project and where everything's at.
And Marion, you there?
Marion's on mute.
It'd be most
There.
appropriate.
There she is.
I'm on.
Okay.
You good? All right.
Okay, the project, it was the tea house. I mean, there's a bigger project, of course, that's been on the books for a long time, but the thing we're finishing up right now is the tea house construction and the wetland associated with it. We have the as-built submitted. I don't know if you can show them or not. I can't. I mean, you have the documents, Alex. The wetland restoration plan has been followed. The plant materials are in place. Lawns are completely in place also. It's mostly lawn. And there's also been filed a monitoring and maintenance plan for the site, and which includes the tea house as well. And I believe there were a couple photos in the package that were sent in that showed the tea house and its relationship to the upper pond, which part of the work was to dredge that upper pond and remove the Tiffin and other invasives in it, which was completed.
I can bring that up if you'd like, Marion.
I think maybe it would help people to see it. I have no access to it.
Let me pull up this guy.
I got it, Alex.
You have it there?
Yeah.
Why don't you start? What can you pull up the rendering photos as a reference, Rebecca?
That's the planting plan, yeah. That's the conditions. As the as-built plan in place.
Oh, maybe
One
I
called
don't have
rendering
it.
plus rendering plus photo. You want me to share it?
There's renderings and photos. There were older renderings too.
Does that work?
No,
Oh, it
It's
should
just
do it in
taking
a
a
sec.
second.
Oh,
there's the rendering at the top. You see the large Katsura tree is the multi-stem tree on the left-hand side of the tea house. And that's still in existence. You can see it there in the finished photo. So the completed building is there. The completed landscaping is in place around the building. And the landscaping, you can see the edge of the pond, the stones. So that's the original pond edge. And the landscaping above it is wetland planting that was added as part of this this construction. And you can see the lawn is all in place here too. So I don't know if you have any questions, but that's.
Yeah, there's a second rendering. Do you want to show it?
Oh, this, what's this
Go
one?
ahead.
Yeah. You know, one thing that's a little surprising to me is like, and maybe it's just because it's the time of year, but how much lawn there is like right up around, particularly by the resource area.
There
Could you
always
speak to
was.
that in the planting?
There
Okay,
always,
yeah.
there always was lawn there, even when there was a shed. In other words, the shed sat on this, which was the 600 square feet, and it was surrounded by lawn in the front, planting in the front. You have to remember that there wasn't lawn there. Well, this project started in 2014, and this whole area that we're looking at right now, with the grass in the foreground here, was all part of the laydown area to build the building.
Yeah, I remember it just all being torn up last time.
Yeah,
around.
well, it was all torn up. It was stockpiles of stone. There was granite that was left and the big stone that was put in the walls. All of that had to be cleared up. Plus, there was a lot of weed growth that had gotten in there. And there was stockpiles of soil and stockpiles of gravel. And all of that had to be regraded and redone so that we could have the lawn in that was originally planned. It always showed as lawn on all the drawings. Even
And you have the as-built, correct, which is this.
right,
That's-
and that's the lawn is
And
everything.
you have the restoration plan.
And that's the wetlands themselves. We did
That's the
some-
wetland area.
Yeah, we did
It-
that earlier. We did, what we finished up with now is around the tea house. All
Right,
of
but we
this
don't have
wetland-
the actual planting plan in this pack, right?
Yes, that's it. That is the planting plan for that area. You can see all the red things and the pictures of the that's,
Oh, I mean around the tea house.
oh, it should be in here too, yes. You have to keep, there's
Oh,
another
okay.
drawing that shows the tea house, just the tea house.
Oh, it's in this package? Okay.
Yeah, well, it's in, the planting plan is in here.
I probably should turn this back over to Rebecca instead of trying to navigate it on my end. How would I do that?
It was done in phases, if you remember. We did the
Yeah.
dredging early. We did the planting and restoration in the wetland itself early. And then we started on the tea house itself. And the tea house construction took a number of months more than was anticipated. So we were finishing up about a month later than we thought we were going to.
Do you know where the planting plan is, Rebecca?
I'm trying to track it down. Give me a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, for that.
Are there other questions from the commission while we're looking for that? Pam?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, Alex, have you seen the site where it goes, down towards Sergeant's Pond?
Yeah,
Where there was that whole area, I mean, there was a whole area along the stream there, and I think it wasn't in very good shape, I think, when I originally saw it.
It had like flooded,
And
yeah.
then it got flooded out again, and it was it was a little precarious, I think, to me.
So-
It seemed that, so I just wonder how it looks now.
yeah, that whole area. So I visited that with Tom about a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
When I was first starting out here, and it had sort of was in the version of being established, and there were some turf blankets and stuff on the seating, and now those slopes are all seeded in and planted, and that area looks sharp and solid to me.
Looks
That
good,
whole area
okay.
behind the lawn there, going down
Okay.
to those other kind of restored areas.
Okay, there were gonna be some little bridges and stuff like that, but I was
That's
more
all.
kind of focused on the, whether or not it was sort of established in a way so it didn't look like it was just gonna blow out the next
Yeah,
time.
it looks like it's been more or less fully naturalized. It needs
Okay.
some years to kind of organically morph a bit, but
Yeah.
it's blended in with the landscape now.
Okay,
Can I make a comment? I think one of the reasons that we're in much better shape there is because the upper pond, when it was dredged and we gained depth, and we got all of the invasive plants out that had totally clogged it up, we
Mhm.
haven't had the flooding.
oh, good, okay,
Capacity on that upper pond holds a lot more water than it ever held. And so it doesn't come down through as fast. And the lower pond also had some material removed and some invasives, and it holds more than it has. So the whole system, now that the two ponds are at depth, at their full depth, and they're not clogged up with wetland plants, they're doing well. Meaning
Okay.
cattails. They were totally inundated with cattails, basically. There was no water showing in the upper pond. It was just cattails. That's all you saw.
I think
Yeah.
the flooding though, like at the this is like nearly a square mile watershed or something along those lines. Like it's a huge watershed, and the previous
Yeah.
flooding was just from like that culvert actually washed out at one point in the
yeah,
last
yeah,
decade, and the other flood was just like 100 CFS coming down. It wasn't even like the ponds could have just not even existed, the amount of water that came down there.
Well,
So like one of the things we were so in tune with on the maintenance plan is that there's serious risk of this whole thing blowing out in the future and needing to be repaired.
Yeah,
That's why the stream still is maintaining the rolls that are on the side. We're doing the same way that Tom Brady had wanted us to do that in the Emerald Necklace on the in the Homestead Park. We kept the rolls in place. The planting has grown into it, and the same attitude is being taken here. We're keeping those in place. We've got the depth on the pond, and in our maintenance thing, we have checking that twice a year to make sure we don't get over silted or we don't start having invasive plants come in. So I think the monitoring thing, which is in here, it's all words, of course, is what you're really looking for, because that will keep it, we'll be able to keep control of it. It is a
Yeah.
lot of water. Before the site was built, this whole site flooded right up to the house that was there, that was at the
Yeah.
lower level.
Yeah.
I mean, there was flooding all the time. So we're in much better shape right now than we were in 2014, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think we've always expressed the opinion that this probably will happen again.
It
You know, I mean,
may.
that some large flood will happen. If you got a 100-year storm, like most of this stuff, I mean, I think even the bridges came off of their footings and stuff. It was like a pretty significant event.
Well, the stone washed out. They're not, they don't have footings.
No, yeah.
They sit on the ground on the stone, and the stone soil under the stone washed out. That's all back in place. All the stones in place. Additional stone was added well before the tea house started. There was this whole project of getting the pond set, getting the wetland in place, getting everything revegetated so that we had, if nothing else, we had grass with wildflowers in areas. And I think it's all there, and Alex has seen
yeah,
it's still very much there growing. And we have an irrigation system on it. Believe it or not, we need it, because when it does go dry and there is no water, we're really in trouble with all those wet plants. It's sort of ironic.
yeah, okay.
So I can
Great,
pull up really quick. I have the tea house plantings here.
Oh yeah, great.
Give me 1 second. Because I know how to use Zoom. Here we go. And Marion, there's
There it is, yeah.
any deviation from?
Not really. I
That's-
mean, you're only showing this lower piece in green. All of this is in, and the edge that's there, that's the silt fence there, it's the black line, is in place. There's lawn in front of that, as there is now. The plantings are all there.
I mean, yes, I'm looking, Marion, like when I look at the actual photo of the space between the the edge of the pond and the tea house, like there's contiguous lawn for, I don't
Right.
know, 5,
Because
6, 7 feet.
We removed all of that invasive material. You see where the stones are? That stuff, when we went in there, was basically all weeds. It was stuff that had grown in as it had in other areas. We took it out and we added planting there, and we left the lawn in between.
But what I see on the planting plan is like significant vegetation that spans completely
Exactly.
contiguously from the tea house to the
Right.
edge of the water. And when I see the image of the photograph of what's out there, is that there's significant lawn in that area.
Right. What we were doing is protecting the weeds and the invasives with that wetland fence that went in. When we took the fence down, we had invasive plants sitting there, and so we put the lawn in instead.
So there's lawn where there should have been wetland plantings?
No, it was invasive plants. They were all weeds, basically, that had been growing ever since 2015 or so. That whole area, because it was a laydown area, was covered with massive amounts of weed growth.
Right, but I'm
mean,
bring that back
plants
up, Alex.
Yep.
They weren't wetland plants. They were weed growth, basically. Golden, things that people take out. They're weeded.
So like that's one image, right? So it's
Right.
lawn from the tea house down
And
to
you
the
see,
edge.
what we did is we added some you see where it's brown there? We
Yes.
added planting in there to replace what was there. See, where the stones are, this is a foreshortened thing because of the camera. I mean, you're looking
Sure.
at a foreshortened situation. If you look at the brown line that goes all the way over to the right, it comes across and it ends in these other shrubs. we added wetland plants in that whole area. That's all planted with.
Do you want to bring the planting plan back up, Alex?
Sure.
Like, so, and I see it on the rendering as well. It was envisioned to have, like, significant plantings in
Next
that
to the
buffer
stone
area
steps.
between the tea house and the resource.
Well, that's what we did. We moved them down here. We took the plants that were on either side and just moved them down further. This, I don't have a thing where you see the two slabs, the planting on either side of those, we moved down here because we had to replace all of this stuff that wasn't very good. So we used the wetland plants we had down here along the edge. That's what we had. We had to do that in order to, well, otherwise it would have just been weeds.
So
I mean,
that green buffer there moved down to the other side of the silt fence, Maren?
Exactly. The same plants are there. The 33 ARs, the ACs, the EVS, all of those moved down because we moved it down further so we would protect the edge. We didn't want the lawn coming to the edge. So we needed to take the stuff out. So we put wetland plants there and put the lawn above it.
Will, do you have a question?
Not about this, but it was back to something else. I don't remember did we issue something around the stream and that work when it was done? I have some memory of having like a partial, I forget, it might have been even before Alex, before you took over, that there was some sort of like, that was stabilized and then we were going to get to so we issued something, or maybe we didn't. I don't remember that, but I remember some conversation about that. I just wanted to clarify if what we're doing is just the tea house tonight or the whole system.
I would have to review, but this order is for the sort of reestablishment of that, the restoration of all the plantings around that wetland area in there following the washout from a few years back, and then the tea house itself.
So both. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I mean, from my perspective, it doesn't look to me like the plantings that are installed are consistent with the plan.
Well, they're the same species. They're not.
Yeah, but they're not
in
I'm just saying the buffer that was anticipated to be installed isn't installed.
No, it is. That's what you're seeing in the pictures. The brown area has the plants in it. If you went out there, you would find it is full of plants. They're like 6 inches on center or something like that. A lot of them are ground covers, but there is planting above the rocks into the lawn so that you can't come out of the place and be lawn right on top of the pond. We had to move it back. Otherwise you would have lawn right on top of those stones, which we didn't think you wanted.
I mean, I actually, so this rendering probably is what I had envisioned, and it seems like that's what you had envisioned as well. And that rendering is consistent with the planting plan. You'll notice that the lawn does not extend into the buffer area right in front of the tea house, and it wasn't anticipated in the planting plan to do that. Like what I'm seeing in the image, that is not the case of the conditions that are out there. I mean, I don't know. Are there other perspectives
Well,
on the
we
commission?
can change it and pull them all out and put them back there and take the lawn right down to the pond.
That's not the planting plan either, is it?
Well, that's what it would have been because it was, or we could have just left the weeds. I don't know. I mean,
What about extending the wetland plants further up towards the tea house?
it's
And
about,
I'm not saying
about a
deviate
five-
anything.
I think
would
it's
just
about
say,
a 5-foot bed right now, I think is what it is.
I would say just install it the way the planting plan was drawn. I'm not saying to deviate at all from the original plan.
So I'll bring the weeds back in. All right, well, I'm gonna have to leave. I mean, unless I, if
I'm
I
not sure.
pull that
I'm
out,
not sure
there
what
won't-
weeds. The
Well-
original planting plan anticipated leaving weeds in place.
Yes, if it showed the can we go back to the plan again, please?
Sure, I can share that. Yeah, 1 second. Yes.
All right.
So this
Right.
plan anticipated
This-
leaving weeds in place, or
Yes, it would. Do you see the stones? do you see the area between the stones and where the silt fence was placed? That was all weeds, basically, all invasive material. Some of it was even Tifana up that high. So we put it in place because it was there. We put the thing in place. We then, as we were working on it, kept the fence, and then we realized that we had basically a whole series of weeds there, including some of the Tifana that had come up the slope. And so we took the thing and we took those out, and we put took the planting that we have here, where you see WF there, that came down and it hit here, and this would have all been planted. So we moved it down a little bit further because it wasn't quite as wide. This is not the same proportions. But if you want us to tear it all out and just make lawn all the way around the tea house and take the plants out down there, I mean, we can do that. We can just stuff it up there and leave lawn down here by the rocks. I don't think.
My understanding is that there was going to be a lot less lawn than there is currently.
Right.
Yes.
And on either side of the steps, it shows these plants with these numbers 2CAH 1FG.
Those are plants,
trees.
yeah.
But then it shows the things that look like clouds that say.
Those are the masses of plants. That's how you draw them.
They're not.
See, 33 ARs. That's 33 plants within that cloud.
But those, I don't see those on the
IVs.
photograph, do I? Or do I?
They're not installed.
These are installed over here, the ones we were just talking about, the 33 ARs, the 8 IVs, the shrubs are in place, these are in place. What is different is the cloud down here that has absolutely no planting on it is just weeds. And so when we realized what the situation was and that the Tifana was coming up in here, we decided to clean it out and put wetland plants down here to continue the bed to protect this, the pond, basically from the lawn above it. We wanted to give some kind of buffer between the pond edge and the lawn. A plant buffer.
I guess there's a blank just beyond the stones, but I think the understanding is that that would be plant material rather than
lawn.
I think what we were anticipating is that this empty cloud that's closer to the rocks and to the pond would be the wetland plants, and that there would also be additional wetland plants consistent with this plan next to these stone slab steps. And that's what the rendering picture looks like, but it's not what the actual as-built picture looks like. There's no wetland and sort of wildflower plants that kind of extend toward the pond, right? It's just lawn, and you took some wetland plants and put them where there was no plan. But I think that our contention is that this empty cloud should have been planned as not to be empty, right? There should be wetland plants here and here, not one or the other. Does that make sense to the commission?
We had no planting planned at all between this rocks and the silt fence.
Right.
That was a no disturb area. There
it was
wasn't any
basically,
anticipated work.
Moxa, it was goldenrod, it was whatever weeds come down the pike that were growing in there that had just grown up over the years as it was as a lay down area. And so we took them out because they were part of the weed removal that we were trying to do. And then we had nothing there.
So there's lawn there now.
Yeah, there's planting in that spot now.
there's planting, but there's now lawn directly next
Above
to
it.
the tea
But there
house.
was supposed to also be planted, right?
I mean, so like from a quantitative perspective, what I would look at is the square footage of lawn in the buffer before and after as anticipated, and have those things matched. There's significantly more lawn than was anticipated. I don't think we want more lawn, we want less lawn,
Right.
Marion.
More
Yeah.
wetland plants.
we literally just want the planting plan executed, and I think you found some conditions that were inconsistent with what you anticipated. You anticipated leaving weeds and you decided to remove the weeds and plant in that area, which sounds like a positive thing. But not at the expense of compromising the additional wetland plantings, buffer plantings, I should say, and switching that over to lawn in a different location.
So we can't walk between, we can't come off the deck and walk on the steps, the stones that are there, and walk to the right or the left.
I think you had the stones. You can't walk right or left because those were supposed to be buffer plantings. You could walk on the stones.
You could walk.
That's how it was
left, 'cause
designed. We didn't
It
design
showed
it.
some lawn to the left, but as you come out of the tea house,
All right, why don't
I
we
believe
go
it
ahead and
shows-
stuff them back in there for you? And we're gonna leave the others as a buffer so that we don't have lawn right at the pond.
Mhm.
So we're gonna add planting, we're gonna double the amount of planting we have there.
And you're removing significant lawn that's in that area.
Well, the only lawn that's coming out would be the part that comes up to the stones, because if we go back to the plan, it comes to the stones and wraps around. So it's really about a 3-foot area. It says 2 stones and the planting came up to the stones.
yeah, it just seems like what we're saying is that it ought to be.
You see, they came,
shown
the
on the plan.
stones are placed here. We need to add back the planting on the right and left of the stones, but only as
Right.
close as the stones are. There is lawn coming down here to the silt fence. There's lawn here on the other side.
Where it says WF.
Yeah,
Yeah, you probably should have I mean, it looks like the 22 GO, the 49 ACA, the 37 EVS. I don't know what these things are, but 1 FG, 2 CH, and then on the other side,
That's
you've
the
got
shrub.
33
You
AR.
probably wouldn't add the shrub. What you're missing are I can't see the number, the ACAs, I can't see the number below. The further you go down, the GOs. We're missing the 22 GOs, the 49 ACAs. And part of this is missing, part of the EVSs, but part of it's there, part of it is not. So it's these there are 2 bubbles and then a larger bubble, which is partially there. And on the
Right,
other
and
side, it's the same thing. It's 33 ARs and there's 21 ACs.
And then you've got an FG and a C,
Yeah,
unless
but
the
those are
C,
shrubs.
those
Those
are
are
in.
shrubs. Those are the shrubs. You're not putting those, where the lines go to. The line.
Yeah, are those
1.2
shrubs
is a
installed?
shrub. Those are there. All of those shrubs.
okay.
This planting is here. What's missing
Okay.
is part of this, part of the 33 AR and part of the 21 AC, but not all of it. Some of it's in.
I think that's right.
yeah.
Alex, you've had your hand up
It's
for
the
a while.
bubbles on either
Sorry.
side of the stones that we're missing.
I think that's right. Yeah, Alex.
Yeah, I was just gonna say as a a recommendation, I think I think it's just what everyone's saying now. I think there's a version of this that, it sounds like these plantings were always intended, but then there was additional invasive material removed that was not anticipated, and that big blank space was filled with all the plantings that were originally intended to go around the tea house. And so I think that's where the disconnect is coming from. So I think if there's a version of this planting plan that fills in those gaps and makes it as a whole sort of natural transitionary area that addresses this planting plan and sort of meets what I believe was the commission's intent and probably the applicant's intent in putting this together, and it just got a little shifted along the way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
The plantings on either side of the stone slabs are what are missing.
And Mary, could that be done in such a way that it sort of organically flows into the?
All we have to do is cut the sod out and put the lines in, that's all. But we're gonna have to wait till spring because it's much too late to do that right now. We wouldn't be able to even get the plants to get them in or dig them in time. So I'll have to wait till spring because, otherwise it's, the sod can be taken out very easily. The beds are there, the loam is there, and it can be put in.
I think that would be really, really helpful. I mean, the original intent was to minimize the lawn area. Lawns are not high kind of functions and values in a buffer area, and we try to minimize that.
We have a lot of lawn, and when the flooding happens, that whole lower area of lawn is your sponge that takes up the water that's coming over the side.
Would some of that be mitigated by those new rain garden areas?
Yeah,
that-
but very little. I mean, think about if that floods over, that whole lower area used to flood around the Katsura, across the lawn, all the way down towards the greenhouse. That whole area was flooded because the original house sat down at that lower level.
Hmm.
The house was not up on the hill. The house literally was too close to the wetland when it was, but it was an existing old
It
farm.
probably funneled all the water down.
Yeah,
that
and all
way,
the
yeah.
water came off the hills and came down there, and that's the flat area. And when it floods and it comes over the top, that whole lawn area is where the water goes and it settles down in to the ground. It's your place where the water is going to be held if you get this massive flooding you think might happen at a 100-year storm. It's the only place the water can be held unless it rips on down through to the Sergeant's Pond. It's our sponge, so to speak.
No, I think we appreciate your engagement and willingness to address the deviation.
So that's what I'm suggesting. If that's okay.
So in that case, rather than seeking like a partial certificate of compliance for everything minus that, this would be we can chat about that, Marion, about what it would look like before coming back to the commission once this is completed for COC.
Okay, I mean, we need to, put it in, but it won't happen till spring. I mean, it just
Okay.
can't happen. We can't, I mean, we're in the middle of December now.
I will
Are
say
there any
from-
other comments or questions? Yeah.
I'll say from my perspective in working with Joe and Marion for the other aspects of the project, they have been very cooperative and communicative especially regarding other project changes. I know they came before us when we made a drainage change. They came before us with the changes to the monitoring and maintenance plan and the proposed changes to the tree. So appreciative of that communication and collaboration over the last year or so with the modifications to the project. Been very sort of transparent in making those changes known, and look forward to working with you to close the deal.
Well, sounds good. Thank you, Alex. Opus needs to get a C of O for the tea house, but needs to get signed off with this certificate. Is there any way of getting some kind of temporary sign off so I could get the C of O for the structure itself? The C of O application requires a sign off by the commission, Concom Commission.
Sure, that's something that I typically sign from the DPW side of things. I think without at least a partial, it would be tricky from our end, Joe, but I can chat with a few staff here and see if there's a precedent for that. But typically the COC is part of that,
Understand
part of that process.
Yeah, understand, Alex. Understand. All right. Well, we'll be in contact. Marion, you good?
Yep, that's what we're at. I mean, I don't think I can get the plants and put them in next week. I don't think we can get them to do them that fast. I mean, the nurseries are, not selling right now. You don't go in and buy plants to put in the middle of December.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll form a strategy and communicate accordingly.
Great.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a proposed mitigation measures for cyanobacteria in the Brookline Reservoir.
Great, and this is going to be a presentation and some Q&A with Maria Rose, our environmental engineer.
Thank you, Alex. I'm happy to be here again. I just need screen sharing ability.
Yeah. Rebecca, can you do that for me? Thank you.
Yep, you should be set, Maria.
Thank you. All right. Well, I have been in front of you a few times, so I think you all know me. Let me just get the slides on the beginning. Okay, you can, how do I get rid of the next slide? Let's see. Well, let's see. I know what I
You
need
just
to
do display settings.
You know what I
Maria.
I just need to switch screens that I'm sharing, I think is what it is. Sorry. I think. Let's see what this if this works. Hold on one second. Okay.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah,
Hey,
perfect, yay.
good.
Sorry, I get a little confused with double screens, but so this is the topic is the reservoir water quality and some options that we're considering for improving the water quality. So as you're probably aware, there is a history of algal blooms. Let me just make this real small. This thing here. There's been a history of algal blooms in the reservoir. These are some photos. Is this blocked out for you? Let's see, how do I get rid of that?
I don't know. Look, it looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks okay.
Okay. All right. So there's I compiled a few photos. I have only been working in Brookline for 3.5 years, so I don't have a ton of photos, but these are some that both myself and the health department has taken. So this is ones from last fall. There wasn't, I don't think, like an official cyanobacteria bloom noted, but from my experience, it looked like a cyanobacteria bloom in November. Actually, October is when I really noticed it. And then these pictures are from this year that the health department took. So August of 2025. You can see the algal scum, the cyanobacteria scum here. This is from October. And then here's a video right here, quick little video, so you can kind of really get the sense of what the water looked like. So the challenges are that we have this bathtub effect that's going on. There's really very little water coming in, and there is an outlet to release water when the water level in the reservoir reaches above the outlet pipe. But for the most part, it's sitting very stagnant. And if you've ever left a glass of water out for a while, it gets kind of scummy. And this is kind of what's happening here. So we looked at some initial options, and we are here to discuss like one very specific one, but I was asked to present some of the things we've considered. So aeration and fountains is one option that we've considered. Alex had mentioned it, so we looked at it briefly. Basically, it's a tool used to increase mixing and decrease stagnation in the water column, but it's only going to increase oxygen at the surface. Fountains can be aesthetically pleasing, however, their influence is very small area that really gets some benefit from using aeration at the surface. It will make remaining nutrients in the water column more available to algae because they like having some oxygen, which could potentially increase blooms. It could also resuspend sediment and increase turbidity if the circulation is not carefully controlled. And then there's some noise pollution. Another option is to do circulation and destratification. All ponds have, well, I mean, I'm calling it a pond, and you know it's a reservoir, but ponds and lakes, and I would presume this reservoir would be the same, have 3 layers of water: the hypolimnium, the metalimnium, and the epilimnium. And over the summertime, this area down here gets very low dissolved oxygen, and this starts causing the bloom. The oxygen becomes so low that phosphorus is released from the sediments. And then that can also, the low dissolved oxygen causes problems for the fish. So some of the treatments are to like increase the dissolved oxygen so you can prevent the release of sediments from this internal nutrient recycling that happens. Then on top of that, there's also inputs into a water body that can deliver nutrients, which we really don't have here. We have a mere total of 2 catch basins on Lee Street that discharge a very nominal, negligible amount of surface runoff into the reservoir. But anyway, this is something that can be considered at a more, broader scale of adding water that's much more advanced than just an aeration at the surface. So you basically use water or air to introduce that into the bottom of the reservoir. This allows to stop that cycle of the sediments releasing their phosphorus, and it has benefits for the fish. So it's been known to reduce internal loading to phosphorus. It may improve habitat for fish. As you can imagine, this is going to be quite a feat to install here. So I threw it in here just as an idea, but it's really not something that I would recommend. It's still not used very often here in Massachusetts, and it looks very complicated. But just to flush it through as an option. Whatever makes it makes the nutrients remain more bioavailable because now it's got more oxygen, and it can lower the oxygen levels in the shallow water. There is also a potential to change the downstream impacts, but there really isn't a lot of downstream flow. Another option is to use dilution and flushing. And this is the addition of water of basically it's the addition of water. And this is an example that I pulled from the Draft Massachusetts Guide to Algae and Aquatic Plant Management. In this case here, they used a small diversion channel of a river. The Mill River is allowed to go into this body of water in Northampton, and they use it to flush and improve the quality of the water. This is what we'd like to do as a pilot with the reservoir, and I'll explain a little bit further, but basically the positives of this is that the addition of water of similar or even poorer quality can flush the system and minimize algae buildup. Obviously, the better the quality of the water, the more dilution you're going to get of the nutrients that are building up throughout the water column. Dilution reduces nutrient concentrations without lowering the load. And by the load, that means what is the input of load coming from the watershed. And again, there really isn't any input into this reservoir. Another option, and I'm only mentioning this because if the cyanobacteria blooms continue, then we may want to consider as the town to do aluminum sulfate treatment. I have experience doing this, and it was very, very successful at a lake that I worked at in Newton. This process is basically using salts of either aluminum, iron, or calcium. They're added to the water body in liquid or powder form. This is an example from Solitude from their website. I just nabbed it. But they have like a special boat that releases the liquid aluminum sulfate, or alum for short. Then there's another boat that's monitoring pH and a number of other parameters just to make sure that everything, that there's no negative impacts. What that does is that liquid goes through the water column and it settles out on the pond or reservoir bottom in this case. And then it reduces the ability of that phosphorus from being released from the bottom when we have low oxygen, typically late summer. And some of the benefits is that it can provide a rapid decrease in total phosphorus. TP is total phosphorus in the water. You can have immediate clarity The water even feels different. I've had swimmers report to me at Crystal Lake that they were like, the water just feels cleaner. It feels better. It feels like just way different and much better quality. It removes the particulates from the water as well as the total phosphorus. If there were macroinvertebrates in the sediment, the flock can smother them, so that's a negative. There can be toxicity to fish by aluminum, but with careful monitoring of the pH during the application, that can be averted. And then there's just, during treatment, there's a fluctuations in pH that you just have to watch. So, as I mentioned, the surface area of any pond or reservoir has high dissolved oxygen, but the bottom layers, they're not exposed to the atmosphere. They have low dissolved oxygen, and then this phosphorus gets released from the sediments. So why we're here right now is because there's a turnover happening in the ponds. And reservoirs this time of year. In the fall, it turns over, and all of the accumulated green stuff.
Good ways.
Does somebody have a question? Did somebody have a question?
I don't think so. I think it was just some
No.
background noise.
Rogue microphone, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I can't see everybody. What we would like to do, we're actually about to commence. We're working with our consultant to commence a water quality study of the reservoir that's going to be very comprehensive. But because the cyanobacteria levels were really high this fall, we would like to do some flushing to try and get some of to reduce the accumulation that's going to happen right now through the spring as the turnover of these phases. And I don't claim to be an expert. A lot of what I've learned is from this amazing guy, Dr. Ken Wagner. The publication I referenced he wrote it for DEP with another colleague. So a lot of this is just stuff I've read and learned from him and a project that I worked on. But just a bit of a concern that I have is that if we just let it sit, all the green muck and scum is just going to settle down into the sediments, and it's going to potentially cause a bloom to happen earlier next year. So a quick option to do right now as a pilot, we have the south branch of Village Brook is culverted, and it's this blue line right here. And it goes all around the reservoir. Actually, I'm going to bounce ahead to what it used to look like. So I grabbed some atlas photos from way back in time. In 1844.
Wow, this is cool. Yeah.
Thank you. So here's Boylston Street. Here's Warren. This area right here is where the reservoir is, and you'll see that in a minute. And this is the south branch of Village Brook, and it cut right through and continued on long before it was all developed. There's some hills here. So you can see it was a low area. This symbology here means it was probably a marsh. And again, this is a hill. So, and then now we have 1855, and what we did, engineers back in the time, they said, okay, well, let's gonna route the stream around the reservoir. And so that worked for probably a while until I think the late 1800s. And then we put it in a pipe. We culverted the poor stream. So what we're proposing to do basically is there is actually an inlet that already exists. It's only a 10-inch pipe right here, but there's stop planks that don't let flow going in, but it has been activated when the reservoir was under construction and the park project was going on in 2020. I wasn't here then, but around 2019, 2020, they refilled the reservoir using this inlet. So our proposal is to pilot for 30 to 60 days, allowing base flow from this stream to go into the reservoir and flush out some of this scum and suspended phosphorus before it completely settles down into the sediments and we have and we lose all hope of flushing it out. And what will happen is once it reaches a certain level, it will go out this outlet right here. So that's the proposition, what the proposal is right now in the discussion at hand. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Like I mentioned, we are in the process of developing a contract with Brown and Caldwell to do a very comprehensive study that will commence in the spring of next year, and it will include a ton of testing that's going to take place within both the reservoir and the flow going in, and we'll assess like what's the long-term impact, what would the long-term benefits be to doing this idea. So that is pretty much it.
Lots of hands up, Maria. So people are really interested in hearing from you. Yeah. So Will.
Yeah, so my question is, so it's going to go back, it's going to come, the flushing is going to go in and out of the same water source of that culverted brook or whatever, right? It goes back in.
Correct. Yes.
And so I guess my question would be, I know that brook continues down toward like Leverett Pond and stuff like that. What's the downflow? Like, how is that going to impact the rest of the sort of watershed system as it moves down toward Leverett and Muddy River and stuff?
Well, it doesn't really, I guess eventually it gets to Leverett. So this is the south branch of Village Brook. It merges with Village Brook around Brinkton Road by the high school.
Okay.
This is a project I'm super excited about because we're hoping if this were to go well, we might be able to solve some flooding downstream. So we have right at Warren Street and Boylston a little bit of surcharging based on the stormwater modeling project. So if we can use this for storage, that could potentially have very positive impacts on our system. Also use it for phosphorus control in our water quality needs for our MS4 permit, the municipal separate storm sewer permit under EPA. We have phosphorus reduction. This has potentials to get us credit for that. And it has potential. This is the only part this is why we're going to commission like $150,000 study to really make sure it doesn't impact any negatively in any negative way the reservoir. And that's the missing piece to like what could be the trifecta of an amazing solution here for a myriad of challenges.
Yeah, really interesting. Pam. Oops, you're on mute.
You're muted. You're muted.
There we go. Yeah, I was kind of thinking along the same lines of whether or not you were gonna, when it went in, and it went, kind of flushed through, but then when it rejoined, when it went back into its stream mode, whether or not it was gonna carry, the bad stuff in the reservoir off with it and move it other places. But I think cyanobacteria blooms, I think they don't necessarily work like that. I mean, they'll get going and, you always have some cyanobacteria around, but then they'll get going and you've got a big bloom, but then the bloom can sort of dissipate actually really quite quickly. I mean, it doesn't necessarily travel. So I assume the water quality study will sort that out.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they can be very, it's not flashy is the right word, but the wind and like some dilution and flushing through the system, you can have a bloom one morning and then like close down a beach area and then boom, like in a day or two, it can be gone.
It can be gone. Yeah. It's kind of, I don't know. It's good. They're kind of, I spent some time thinking about this on the Charles, which had a bad summer, although it did not go. I mean, I noticed this was until October. That's very late to still be having a bloom in October.
Yeah, I was surprised at that too, Pam.
Yeah.
It's like it just says it was very warm this year, and it just says it really is a problem too.
Yeah.
What the reason we want to do this pilot is because the November data from the state, from the health department, showed the we got lucky, we got free testing from the state. I can search for it, but it was like 270,000. And the number we need to be below is like 70,000, somewhere like that.
In November.
In November.
Which is wild, because it'll make August or something.
Yeah.
Problem, but that's really surprising.
So it's really, and it still looks really green. I asked for the leaves to be cleared off because leaves are a source of phosphorus. So we're doing
Yeah,
what we can, but it's small potatoes compared to what maybe it could be in the future.
Mhm.
Who else had their hand up?
Oh, I did. I had a similar
Sam.
question about the downstream impacts, if any. Is this something, if it works well, you'd only do periodically during blooms, or would you potentially do this continuously throughout the year?
If we
Leave the, outlet and open.
Yeah, the immediate need right now is to just kind of flush some of the total phosphorus downstream. But the long-term objective would be to utilize, if the water quality study shows what we hope it does, then we would look at doing this long-term and use it for storage of when we have big storms, we have a huge resource right here. And if that could mitigate downstream flooding by holding back some of that water temporarily, it would have huge benefits. So it would be something we're looking at doing long term.
I think it's a really interesting option, Maria, and I think the monitoring component is really important because it's a complex system. Generally, the addition of storage should help the hydrology, and I mean, as you mentioned, is it going to mitigate major flooding? No, but it's headed in the right direction. There may be even if the study goes well and this heads in the right direction, you might even want to increase the size of that 10-inch pipe, if appropriate. The pond should also, as you mentioned, it should improve water quality, maybe downstream as a result of doing things like removing solids. So like this does end up as a place for solids to get captured in the pond. That doesn't necessarily mean they have high levels of stored phosphorus. You're going to have to know from this. It could make it worse. It could make it better, right? But there's some reason to believe, particularly when you provide upstream storage, that that should improve downstream water quality relative to the Muddy River. I do agree on the other, like your assessments too, on the aerators and stuff. Like just mixing for the reasons that you described probably is not going to end up. This is a big reservoir too. Like at a reasonable cost to end up with a good result. So, I think it's a really interesting experiment.
Yeah.
And the other thing is there's not much to lose, right? I mean, you like pull the stop logs and you let it run for 5 years, and you monitor it, and if things seem like it's getting better, that's great. If not, you can always put the stop logs back in. It's not like high risk. It does strike me that probably the cause of all this was the major dredging project, and these systems, it takes them like decades to stabilize. You've got the sediment was like completely stirred up and dug up and just disturbed when the reservoir was rehabbed. The whole ecosystem was destroyed essentially, right? I mean, like you drained the whole thing, little tiny pools of water, all the sediment was dug up. So like anything that had been naturally kind of captured in those sediments just got resuspended. And so a lot of this, I suspect, is a very long-term recalibration of the equilibrium state of the pond, which is not something you just like fix overnight. And do you really want to wait like 50 years for the ecosystem to kind of reestablish? The alum solution too is not a bad one, as you mentioned, like Crystal Lake. You see that a lot of places out west. I don't know, Green Lake in Seattle, like they had probably one of the most highly studied alum treatments, and like that went really well. You control the pH, you get quite good results like that. I wouldn't rule out doing the alum thing if you don't get the exact results you want from this diversion, but this is kind of like low risk, and then you can just like turn the knob up a little bit.
Exactly.
And do an alum treatment. I actually would think an alum treatment would work really well here because it's just the nature of the pond, and it's not really very natural system. And you just establish that nice like flock layer that's keeps sorting phosphorus for a long time, and it probably turned out really well. So anyway, that's like
Yeah,
next
I'm a
decade
big,
or something.
it is, that's why I threw it on the slides, because
Yeah.
I was pretty impressed with the results that we got in Crystal Lake.
I
it was
don't know.
dramatic.
There's one other technology I mentioned, and I'm not going to vouch for it at all because I have not done any studies to know its effectiveness. But LG makes a device for killing the bacteria directly with sound. I know that sounds crazy, but you could check it out. I haven't read the studies on how effective it is, but they market it pretty heavily for HABs, and I don't know. It's worth looking at. You know, I'm not super fan of lots of energy being poured into, you know, I think theirs are solar powered, but still you got like mechanical systems and ice, and it's just like kind of, you know, Lars is hard enough to keep running, isn't it? But yeah, Alex, sorry.
No, it's
I'll
fine.
get off my soapbox.
No, I just had a couple of quick comments. The first is, correct me if I'm wrong, Maria, but also if this is if the pilot is successful and we're looking toward either a semi-permanent or more than that connection, there, depending on budget and viability, there might be room for a small sediment forebay or something else.
Yeah, that's all right. That's a good idea.
Additional sort of solid diversion. And then to speak to your point, Marcus, I know that our order of conditions for lake management, for basically the treatment of the milfoil in there, is expiring in May of 26. And one of the things we kind of kicked the can down the road to reassess our whole strategy toward there. So that might be something where, if we're working with the engineering division on a new notice of intent, certainly something where we could explore some additional, aquatic vegetation options now that we know that the cyano is an issue.
You might also, when you do the diversion, another thing that strikes me is you might, at a minimum, like give flyers to the people that have lawns that drain down to the brook, and like just let them know that when they fertilize, like it has an impact on the resources, because that's a pretty significant source, especially when you're letting that flow in. But there's probably some other things we've done that way.
Yeah, we have sent letters in the past. I don't know how effective they are, because a lot of people in South Brookline probably have services.
Just lawn care, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
But we have in the past. But yeah, that is the plan. If we do this long term, we would have some sort of sediment forebay. We would need it. And one thing I didn't really exactly highlight, but that brook also takes stormwater runoff. So that's why we want to commission the water quality study, just to be sure that, we're covering all of our bases and looking at all the data that will help. We'd be back before you if we want to do this full time. We just kind of want to flush it for now and see if it has any impact. And it actually may help inform the water quality study as well. So that was another theory behind it.
Nice and creative. Yeah. Great. Other comments or questions? So we don't, I think Alex and I had talked about this a little bit. I don't think we need to do anything, right, as a commission?
No, this isn't
this is just like an operational change in the way the drainage system works.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah.
Wanted to make sure there was a chance for input and comment and all that.
No other questions? No other questions from anybody? Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you, Maria.
Thanks, Maria.
You're welcome.
All right. We are on to staff update.
Hey, that's me. All right, on to our staff update. All right, so I thought I'd give a rundown, since we're at the end of the year, of sort of where all of our the current status of all of our permits that are floating out there, our various orders of conditions. Over at Halls Pond and Amory Woods, they started the decking of the boardwalk, I think, yesterday. So that project is underway over at Amory Woods and hacking away. I've been in touch with Jesse Waisner from Parks and Rob Cafalis from Engineering, who are sort of our DPW point people over there. And just in terms of making sure all the controls are rock solid, making a couple of micro adjustments along the way. But that project's moving along the tracks. Pam, something about that?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what's going on with I read in the, the Brookline News, the online thing about somebody suing over the Halls Pond work. What's going on with that?
So I might pitch this to Alexandra, but due to the nature of that lawsuit, I'll probably keep any updates out of this meeting specifically.
Okay, all right, that's
Unless,
fine.
Alexandra, you have other guidance.
Yeah, Pam, basically, the information that was in the article, I think outlines
Summed it up. Okay.
The summary of where things stand, but I will say that we are waiting on a decision from the Massachusetts Supreme Court based off of the hearing that they held. So we expect that coming soon, and we'll let you know what the outcome of that is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Looking toward the Lynch Municipal Golf Course, I just got the monthly report over there. They're running a little behind schedule, but they've certainly lots of site prep and dredging has begun. They're doing their work over on the channel, as well as that new resource area that'll be there over by the third hole. So that work is progressing steadily. There's been a lot of back and forth communication, as well as several site visits from myself and from Jack Schleifer over with Urban Forestry and that project, making sure everything's compliant. I think right now, as the schedule stands, the plan is to work until mid-January and then take a couple months when everything's all freezy to put the project to sleep. So still underway, and I'll provide an additional update next month. 154 Woodland Road. This is one of the properties over next to Dane Park above the golf course. We're just waiting on a as-built plan. I've already done the final sort of site walk for a proposed COC. We're just waiting on those final plans to come in. They'll likely come for a COC in the January meeting of the Conservation Commission. 25 Sears Road. This is a project that's been we haven't talked about it in a while. We were talking about 29 Sears Road, but 25 Sears Road next door was mostly finished. In a review over there to look at a potential COC, we did notice that there had been some tree removals that happened in an area that was not projected to have tree removals. I had a discussion with the project manager and the team over there. They're going to put forth, before that COC happens, they're going to put forth a restoration plan for that area. There was just some confusion as plans developed over time, and some work was done that was not permitted. So we're sort of outside of the realm of notices of violation since the work's pretty much wrapped. But before they get a COC, the plan is for them to either January or February come forth to the commission with a proposed restoration plan to get that area back to where it was. Over at Willow Pond, this is the Willow Pond dredging project over on the Emerald Necklace. I talked with Sam Downs, who's a project engineer over there. The permits on this got delayed a lot through the year. They were waiting on Army Corps of Engineers permits. They were waiting on a certain staggered permitting process. And because this project can only happen during certain months of the year due to the endangered species that are present over there, this project is likely to happen in fall of next year in 26, following some additional coordination with the City of Boston. 35 George Lane, this is the pool project over by the Park School and Lars Anderson side of town. This was one where we had a violation notice due to the issue with a skid steer and moving some earth between the monastery and the project itself. They've wrapped work on the pool project itself, but we are waiting on an as-built. I spoke with the applicants, and they wouldn't be putting forth a certificate of compliance until that restoration planting has been done, which currently is planned for spring 2026. So likely won't hear from them for a little bit, but projected COC this spring. Allendale Farm. So Allendale Farm is starting a renovation project over there. While this is being reviewed by Boston Conservation Commission, they did reach out to me. I took a quick site walk over at that site. There is a small, like 20 square foot area of this that is within the 100 to 150 foot buffer zone of one of the ponds out there. But it's a more or less a 1-to-1 replacement of impervious to impervious. So hits a pretty standard exempt for that area, and they required no future or further permitting or review from our side of the shop. Looking forward to 2026, we have internally from DPW putting forth a few notices of intent regarding invasive management plans for 2 of the sanctuaries. So this is not only as part of a more comprehensive invasive approach to these spaces, but also for the CPA proposed grants. So this was both a chemical and manual removal and maintenance strategy of buckthorn and Phragmites over at Deep Lake Lehore, as well as the mechanical removal of the yellow flag iris in Halls Pond. So these are CPA funding we got last year, and work on the notices of intent this winter for presentation in late winter, early spring, for execution in 2026. Griggs Park and Incinerator Drive, these are projects that are underway with Parks. They're currently in design review and moving along toward future permitting next year. Major development project on the horizon is at 656, 678 Brookline Ave. So if you're familiar with 700 Brookline Ave, where there's a large hotel there over by Route 9, the abutting property, that management company is building a residential area there. So we recently had a meeting with representatives from really most of the departments in town to talk about what this project would look like, as well as expectations in terms of permitting from all of our perspectives. So that touches on not just Concom permitting for that, because it is so close to that area of the Muddy River behind like Brookline Ice and Coal, behind that section there, but also to see what they can do to meet the sort of expected metrics of the open space plan and community involvement there. Any questions on
I was
it?
going to say that's where the Brookline VCA used to be. That's the site. Yeah.
Great.
I had 2 questions.
Yeah.
I don't think I mentioned it before, but when we had our get together, I took a walk right before through the Putterham Woods, but I noticed it wasn't completely finished. Who's in charge of that, and when will we see the final kind of, or when will the trails be done and all that kind of stuff? What they put in is very nice so far, but
Yeah, so Putterham Woods is fully a Brookline recreation project. It's part of the golf course. And so while the trails, I believe, are complete or nearing completion, but that is an ongoing project into next year. They got CPA money to help with signage and amenities and things like that in there. I've done a couple of, just in my role as sort of the project manager for the open space plan, I did meet with the recreation team, the director, and the golf course manager. We walked the site to talk about not only sort of compliance with that plan, but options for signage and wayfinding and things like that. So there's a lot of detail and polish and additional stuff to come, but it's an exciting new recreational opportunity in our kind of network of trails over there.
And then my other question was, and this might be something for the future, but as is Pam, I'm also an avid reader of the Brookline News, whatever it is, and I saw that there was a article about the church, the Greek church, and potential selling of land there, and what if there's been any conversation yet in the town about what that might be and what the options are. That could be long term, but I was just curious if it's come up yet.
Sure. I haven't been a part of that specific conversation, but I know I have a meeting planned with some folks over at planning in terms of looking at some broad strokes prioritization of the towns looking at in terms of priority spots for open space acquisition or for property acquisition. So I'm sure that'll be part of that conversation.
We have some CRs over there as well. I don't know their exact location, but some of those are probably adjacent to some of those areas Will was just mentioning.
Yeah. Great. I'll zip along here. So speaking of the open space and recreation plan, we appreciate very much so many of the commission coming out to support it in person at our last meeting. The select board voted to approve and adopt it at their meeting right around town meeting, which was very exciting. From our end, what that means is that we are planning updates to you, the commission, and also to the general public when they want to come to these meetings in May of November of each year to give you a idea of where we're at in implementation. If you remember our big 100+ point action plan, the plan is to not let that just fester by the wayside. We want to give regular updates on where we're at on all those in terms of implementing that. I wanted to bring it up tonight because some of those actions include kind of direct action on behalf of the Conservation Commission. And I wanted to put out, you know, these actions specifically caught my eye as things that the Conservation Commission could be involved in. We don't need to discuss it at this meeting, but if there's something on this list that calls out to you and you say, wow, I'd really like to be involved in that, I'd love for you to reach out and for us to talk about, you know, what we can do both offline and in meetings to help move toward that. Whether that's, you know, creating physical and electronic resources, whether it's talking about larger scale planning, whether it's talking about adjustment of policies. You know, I think there's some room to adapt, and I'm happy to provide whatever resources and support I can to commissioners that see something in here and say, ooh, I want to sink my teeth into that. Quick update. This is from the Charles River Water Association. The representative reached out to us about a month ago. They wanted to install a staff gauge to complement the other staff gauge they had out there, primarily to track salt deposits that or salt levels that happen in the Muddy River as they're doing at some of their other water resource areas. So I reviewed this with Jay Hersey from the Director of Water and Sewer and with Maria Rose. They, you know, came up with a very discreet, very light lift plan that they're going to regularly monitor. That's going to run until I think October 2026, and then that'll be they'll, you know, monitor and make sure everything's in good condition, check it monthly, and then uninstall in October and share all the data with us, which I think is generally a win-win. You know, if it doesn't really affect anything and just gives us more information to work with. So
are they surveying that in, Alex, so that you can use that? I mean, because the water level data along there is obviously fairly contentious and for debate.
Sure.
with the Corps, for example, but are they going to survey it in and like actually get the water levels, or is it mostly about conductivity and salt?
I think it's conductivity and salt. That was the narrative that we received for the purpose.
Yep.
That's what I recall too, Alex. It's not to measure the water level.
And then looking forward, just a general update on some things we have going on. So from a nuts and bolts side of Concom, we did submit a proposed meeting date list for 2026. If anything, this is generally a once a meeting every 3 weeks sort of system, which is generally what we've stuck with. If something does pop out at you and go, oh God, why did you schedule a meeting on the 4th of July? You know, Rebecca and I did look this over, but I've been known to miss things before, including incredibly obvious things. So if something pops out at you, if you could let me know. Otherwise, we'll put forward this schedule at the end of the year and post it as our 2026 meeting schedule. In terms of the meeting structure, you know, one of the things I know we had talked about previously, and we recently had a hybrid meeting that we received positive feedback on. I think we can start that discussion again toward the end of the winter. But what Rebecca and I were talking about internally was, you know, generally having meetings remotely during the winter, but then exploring sort of an ongoing hybrid model or an every other hybrid model during the rest of the year, so that we can make sure we're having the opportunities to get together in real space. We have that shared screen where we can review things in that capacity, and it gives us an opportunity to still be flexible. One of the things that our current chair had brought up was we haven't had an election for a chair in a long time, and looking at that next year as we look toward a new chair election and seeing where the commission wants to go from there. From a few website updates. So Rebecca's kind of very much taking the charge on updating our entire sustainability website, which has been long in need of an overhaul. From our side of things, we're looking at really just reviewing our current resources for wetland protection, invasive plants, the private land conservation tools we have, and then shoring up our resources for nature sanctuaries and urban wildlife. And I'm not saying we're going to get rid of the video of me when I was 28 years old featuring all the nature sanctuaries, because that's definitely going to stay. But I think a lot of these sites could use a little spit and polish. And I know that it's going to lead to some of our resources specifically for nature sanctuaries are pretty out of date. Our brochures haven't been updated in 15, 20 years, something like that. I mean, some of the trails aren't quite accurate, especially in Lost Pond, where we have this whole new restored meadow. So we're looking at, over the course of this year and next, really making sure that we're putting forth our best resources possible. In terms of CPA application updates, these are the ones we're currently in the mix for. So we're exploring, we want to do an additional phase of the Deep Lake Lehigh invasive management. If you remember, this is not just the sort of Phragmites and buckthorn that run along the boardwalk in Deep Lake Lehigh, with the goal of doing that in banded phases as we work out over the years. This one is just sort of Concom adjacent, given that it's at the Muddy River, but we are also, the Sustainability Division is also taking point on the Muddy River Bridges conditions assessment. This is something that I've been working on with Bill Smith over in engineering. We've received a lot of support from not just Preservation and Parks and Rec Commission here, but from the MOC and Emerald Necklace Conservancy and the Fenway Alliance and Green Space Alliance. And so a lot of folks would like to see momentum on this approach toward fixing the bridges along the Muddy River, specifically in our case, the ones in Olmsted Park and the Riverway. That's all under review now. We're in the process of site visits with CPA and meetings with CPA and just providing really as much info as we can to folks and answering every question we can. Looking forward at 2026 events, you know, some of these events aren't till September 2026, but I know that one of the things I've heard both anecdotally and in meetings is that commissioners would love an opportunity to get more involved in events, whether that's tabling or whether that's being present to help us showcase some of the great things we're doing at these events. So we have Springfest, which is typically in early June of every year, which is kind of our big DPW showcase of sustainability efforts in town that Alexander has heralded us through for many years, and we're looking forward to keeping that a marquee event. Stewardship Sundays is going to be over at Dane Park this year. We're looking toward doing the same sort of trail restoration and habitat restoration areas that we've done over in Deep Lake Lehigh over the last couple of years. So we're excited about expanding there and working with the Friends of Dane Park on that new initiative. We'll be working with the Pollinator Pathways group, who is a group that has been fantastic in volunteering and maintaining the existing pollinator gardens. We'll be doing not just a couple events at the libraries with them over the year, but looking toward a more larger scale event in the fall that'll not only celebrate pollinator pathways, but act as a sort of celebration of the open space plan and some of the things we're hoping to achieve there. And then Brookline Day, which is our recreation's big marquee event that all town divisions are a part of. And whatever involvement we can get from folks is great. And that's all I have from staff update. Pam, do you have a question? I think
You're on mute, Pam.
We might put on our website a thing on, you know, tips for lawn care to you know, improve water quality or something like that, and put down some stuff about fertilizer use and stuff like that.
I think that's a great idea.
It might be, you know, it's pretty easy off the shelf to get that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I know one of the things we're working on with the open space plan is trying to provide as many tips and guidance for private landowners to not only increase the open space value of their private land, but also just be more sustainable and be a more eco-friendly partners.
Yeah.
And you also might think about trying whether you can link it in more than one place. In other words, only so many people are going to go to our website, but our part of the website. But for instance, people go to look up when trash collection or yard waste pickup is or something, and try to, you know, put links to things like that there.
Yeah.
Likely to go.
Are you implying that the Brookline Conservation website is not very heavily trafficked, Warner? Because
No, by certain known characters, but not necessarily the people we want to reach.
That's all I have from the update side of things. Anything from the chair or anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody saw my my
Yeah.
note on the commission. So this is actually my last meeting.
Gosh.
Yes, boy.
Maybe it feels a little sudden, but
It does.
we
Gosh.
are, so the whole family's we're moving to Wellesley.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, like disingratiates me with this community. I don't know, but anyway,
At least it's not me.
we moved here in 1998. I mean, like, so we've been here a very long time, and what a joy it is to work with all of you. I know I sent a letter along with some thoughts too, but
Yeah.
it's really been a pleasure, and we've had a big impact together. And I consider it as you know, the advice I give young people is to find something you're good at, to volunteer in and contribute and give back to your community, and find good people to work with. And I've found both of those things in working with all of you. And we've done some really cool stuff that matters. And that's
Yeah.
important to me. That's what I set out to do in joining way back when. I think I got interviewed in the when the select board was meeting in the gymnasium of the old Lincoln School, which was kind of a long time ago. But anyway, you'll remember those days. Yeah, so big changes on our end. I'll just say
Well, I
thank you.
think we certainly owe you a debt of gratitude. You know, stepping forward to be chair, you've been an excellent chair, and you know, certainly your expertise is a huge thing. But it's not just that. I mean, there's some of us older folks on the committee, but also some younger people. Anybody that's younger has to make something of a sacrifice to their time and so on. But with you, you're obviously, your business is a big deal, your family and so on, and it's very easy to sit back and be another board member, commission member like us, but stepping forward and with all those commitments and being willing to be the chair is not something everybody in the private sector does, and it's really appreciated. It's been
Yeah, thank you, Werner. Yeah, I really appreciate that from everybody. Yeah, it's been great. We raised our family over this period of time with all of you. I mean, like, my oldest is 22, so she was like a little when I started with the commission in 2008, which is a long time ago. Maybe not for all of you. Some of you have been here the whole time, by the way. Most
She's
of you, actually.
22?
My daughter's
gosh.
22. Yeah.
How did that
that's my
happen?
oldest. I know it happens really fast.
So
So yeah.
From my end, I just wanted to take a minute to thank Marcus for everything he's done, not just for the Conservation Commission, but for the town. I mean, this is, for me in this brand new role, it was really easy to jump in almost immediately to these processes that I really didn't have any experience with or know anything about. I mean, and I think we've all seen that commissions and boards can fall into this trap of rubber stamping or just checking a box. And I think even this meeting tonight.
Yeah, come
you've
on,
seen
Alex. You
that-
couldn't have made it easier for me.
I know, but I'm
It's
saying
like-
that I feel under your leadership that's never been the case. It's never been, yeah, it's fine, move forward. It's always been, why is it like this? And let's make sure, review's insightful and thorough. There's focused attention on meeting and exceeding performance standards. And I feel like you always push applicants to make thoughtful decisions. I think you're also really mindful of responsibility to the commission. It's duty, it's public service. This isn't just regulatory insight too, it's providing guidance and feedback on initiatives and projects and honestly, even down to the several iterations of the open space and rec plan that you were involved in. I think that cemented a permanent legacy on this macro level planning and the town future envisioning. And so, I mean, you're a cherished resource, and we hate to see you go.
One thing that always strikes me is, like, when I think about, I don't know, 200 years down the road, is there any imprint that I was even on the face of the planet? You know where there will be? If you go into the archives over at Brookline Town Hall, there's still going to be papers sitting in file drawers over there.
Absolutely.
with all of our work on it.
I'll have them in a bin in my office, just on the floor.
They won't remember any of these companies I worked for. They won't remember any of the things I built bigger, but like those records, I'm sure will still be there. So
Will the tea house be there?
The tea house will not be there because the flood is going to wash
It's
it
gonna
away.
flood, yeah, I know,
Boy.
it's gonna get blown away. but-
There's a 500-year storm coming because of climate change and it will no longer exist.
I
So
know,
I'm just letting you
I
know. I have told them that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that 500 years time, I have spent the last couple of years with the new stormwater regs coming down the pike, thinking we don't have to worry about that because we've got Marcus.
Oh, geez, Pam.
Stormwater is,
I will-
oh my
I will
gosh.
tell you, I am on the advisory board for Charles River Watershed Association.
Yeah,
And I actually don't get to do as much on that as I would like. Mostly because I've just got too many things going on and I have to
Yeah.
prioritize, and this is one of my priorities over that. But a couple of things where we're moving in Wellesley is it's very close to the Charles, and it's close to the CWRA headquarters also.
okay,
I think I'm probably going to shift some of my volunteer attention back to CWRA, which means I'm not going anywhere. You can just
there
find
you
me,
go,
Pam.
yeah.
I'm not going very far, like 15 minutes away.
Yeah,
And the
But
guy that
anyway,
runs
but it's-
the
yeah.
guy that runs the Conservation Commission in Wellesley is the guy that hired me as a park ranger for.
Oh, really?
So there you
Oh.
go too.
Yeah.
I might be
But
up for
thank
that,
you.
Alex, sometime if they ever bring it
Yeah,
up. Who knows?
yeah.
Nice.
But thank you so much. You're just gonna be so missed here. It's just
Yeah.
it's hard to take in.
It is.
I know. Alexandra, you got your hand up. I'm still the chair for a moment.
Yeah, good evening, Marcus. I just wanted to also just express my deep appreciation for everything you've done for the town of Brookline, for the Department of Public Works. You really have had such an impact on so many residents and so many projects, but also on so many staff. I think from when Tom Brady was here to, Alex coming on board, when your conservation assistant, when I first started, was Katie Weatherseed, and
Yeah, we've had a number.
got through a few folks all the way to Rebecca, and all of those staff always comment on what a pleasure it is to work with you, how smart and articulate you are, but also how conscientious you are and your thinking and your process. And it really is just such a pleasure to get to work with you, but also learn from you, and really, really deeply appreciate your leadership and all the time that you've given us. So just want to thank you so much. We wouldn't be where we are without you, and you will be very, very, very missed by all of us.
Yeah,
So
thanks,
thank you.
thanks, Alexandra. I will say too, it's been exciting, like having like the new folks on the commission here too. Like I felt really good. Sam and Will, you're the ones who are here tonight, like that are newer on the commission too. And it's cool to see like things do change over time, and that's an important part of how things evolve too. So
Yeah,
that's the way the world works.
yeah,
All right. I'm not going far. You can find me if you need
yeah,
me.
yeah.
All right.
Wellesley has a pretty good commission too, I think.
They do. They do. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Are you gonna join?
I don't
Wait,
know.
for
I don't know
opening?
yet. I
I'm gonna
really
just
am
audit
interested
their
in-
meetings for a while.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's really interesting to me is like a lot of the parts of the Charles along like Newton Lower Falls and in Wellesley need some serious help. Like there's parking lots that go right down to the river, and
Yeah.
I might turn my attention there.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like to go boating, on the Charles, and it's like they could use some help in Lower Falls, like making things a little bit better, more ecologically sound.
yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe I'll work on that, Pam. We'll see. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Oh, I'll move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
I wish we were there in person, Marcus. It's
I
I
very
know,
hard to have to say goodbye to you on the screen.
I know.
I'm glad we got together recently. So
Yeah. Yeah, that was really nice. It was really nice.
Will you
If you
come to
invite me
a
to the
party?
potluck, I would come
Yeah.
to a potluck. You do
Will you
send
come
me
to,
an invite.
yeah, will you come to a party if we have one in the spring?
Oh yeah, I'd come. That'd be fun.
Okay,
I'd like to
there
hang
we
out with
go.
you guys. Yeah, sure. I'm always up for a party.
Great.
Why not?
There we go.
Great.
All
Well,
right.
it's
Somebody
exciting for
seconded.
you, but we will miss you.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
Roberta.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
Now
Yes,
that he said
right.
he'd come to the party, I'll second the motion to close.
All right, thanks, Will. All right, and a roll call vote. Will,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Roberta,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Werner,
Yes.
and I'll vote to adjourn too. All right.
right.
Thank you so
All
much,
Good luck,
everybody.
Marcus.
Yeah,
Bye, everyone.
goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.